In front of me just now we have a set of very interesting torture devices. They're all to do with Scotland's laws against witchcraft, and we're going to quickly go through the basis of these for you to understand what these poor souls went through when they were arrested under witchcraft charges in Scotland. Now, in 697, when King Kenneth MacAlpin became the first King of Scots, he issued the first bill against witchcraft. It was mainly to do with necromancers, jugglers, would you believe, and such like people that call up spirits. The crime would have a severity of they were to burn for this crime, burn to death. So from 697, Kenneth MacAlpin, every Scottish king had the same sort of endorsement on witchcraft, but it was never severely pursued until 1485, when Jacob Sprenger and Heinrich Kramer, two German monks, priests, came up with the great idea of putting it down in a volume, the methods and ways of finding a witch, torturing a witch, confessing a witch, and destroying a witch. Now, they put it into this book I have in front of me. This is in 1485. They brought out their book, the Malleus Maleficarum, the Hammer of the Witches is what it's well known for. This book was endorsed by Pope Innocent VIII, who gave it his papal bull, his blessing, but he was very clever. He gave it a papal bull, but he never gave it his papal seal. And we have a papal seal here from Pope Innocent VIII. This is his actual seal. His bull would not be official without one of these attached to the paper bull. So it was very clever. He'd endorsed the witch hunts in this book, the Malleus Maleficarum, but he hadn't given it his official seal. So it was a bit of a cop-out. Anyway, before this book came along and changed the face of hunting witches, there was witches, necromancers and jugglers found in the villages and towns of Scotland, and when they were brought to the courts, they suffered nothing more than being branded by this device here. This looks like a great big M you're looking at just now, but actually it has two functions. It would be heated in a fire, brought out, and it would be burnt on the victim's cheek. And if I push once, I'd get a V with you see the M shape here, V, and if I press hard, sizzle, sizzle, we'd get a V and an M. This stood for the Virgin Mary, and that poor person who's just been singed by this device would be set free and banished from the villages and towns, and she'd be forever he would be forever known for her crime, for the V and the M burnt on her face, the Virgin Mary. And that was as far as it went. Very few cases were terminated leading up to 1485, when this book came out, the Malleus Maleficarum. When this did come out, this had a systematic way of torture, how to bring in your victim, strip them naked. What we'd do is we would cut the hair from the victim all over. We're talking head to toe. Any pubic and hairy bits were chopped off. These scissors were used in the Pitt and Weem 1704 case. So they'd shear the hair off, and they needed two confessions. They needed a confession with torture, and they needed a confession without torture. And this is the way they went about it. These devices in front of me, we have what's known today as a witch's branx. This device would be put over the head. You'll notice there's a metal bar here. Your nose would go through here. It would be put on you like that. And with this bulbous bit you can see in front of me here, this bit here, a rope would go through here, and I'd be dragged through the streets, and a town crier would walk in front of me, basically telling the village what my crime was. This was quite a common device in Scotland. We have another branks here. This is a face one. It would be tied on just to horrify the actual villagers. So we're going halfway through to having you convicted by a horror show alone. Then the victim would get taken in, hair sheared off. What they're looking for on the rules of the Melius Maleficarum here is the devil's taken your baptism rites from you, and in doing that he's given you his own baptism of a mark or a spot or a mole on your body. This is from the devil himself. You will now suckle your little demons and animals that would do your bidding and all your spells as a witch. So we've sheared your hair off. There is no mole, there is no spot, there's nothing we can identify on the body as you being a witch. So they bring in these guys called witch prickers. It was employment. They would come in using a device like this iron kind of bodkin, a brass bodkin. If the mark, according to the Melius, if the mark's not on the skin, it's in the skin, it's in the body. So now, and the Melius does say this mark is insensible to pain. So now they're going to prod you with this hellish device, insert it into the skin inches deep. As long as you scream every time this is inserted, we know they know they've not found a spot. They're looking for a spot that is insensible to pain. But you're going to think, if I'm prodding in a circle, you'll go aya all the way around, and when I hit the middle one, you're never going to feel it because you're numb. This is a way to find conclusive proof, hellish as it was, with the witch pricker. They had many ways. We have thumb screws here. Many ways to inflict pain until you would give up and actually confess yourself a witch. Whenever you want this torture to stop, you just say, "I'm going to confess." The torture would stop. They would have you sit down with a sheet of paper in front of you. Your crime of witchcraft, whatever you supposedly have done, would be written down in front of you. A lot of these women and men were illiterate, so all they could do was make their mark, make a cross, and that was as much as their confession was. Many of them had their fingers already broken by this stage, and they couldn't even hold a pen, so they just had to make their mark. They once this was done, they'd be fed, they'd be clothed, they'd be looked after, and then they had this piece of paper would come to them again, and this is a confession without pain. And if they signed it, it was as good as signing their death warrant. For the next step would be them to go to, in England, you'd be hung. In Scotland and the Celtic countries, you'd be burned.